Hello bookish friends, it's fucking hot. That's besides the point. As you might know, recently I went to Japan, and while I was there, I bought a lot of lingerie. And having bought so much lingerie, I came to the conclusion that the only sensible thing to do it was to give you book recommendations matched to the lingerie that I bought. It is so hot today and I have not drank very much, so I'm very dehydrated, and so it's very important for me to get very hydrated very quickly. So in order to do that, I am going to have Prosecco. It is the only sensible thing to do in this weather. But it's only a small bottle though, so it's fine. Rude. Jesus. Let's start with a very fun, flirty, and indeed pink lingerie set. Here is the bra. Isn't she fun? Isn't she flirty? You know that if you meet this girl out and about, you are going to have a good time. She is the life and soul of the party. She is going to make you laugh. And certainly, she will be that friend that you only call when you want to go out on the town. And so for this set, I wanted to encapsulate that. Fun, flirty, slightly unhinged books. But my first recommendation is A Not So Meet Cute by Megan Quinn. I've read this book in paperback, I've listened to this book on Audible. Delightful in either format. It is a billionaire romance, and I know billionaire romances are slightly going out of fashion, but they will never go out of fashion for me. I love billionaire romances because ethically in real life, I don't like a billionaire. In romances, I love a billionaire because I can pretend that I am getting married to an ethical billionaire, which does not exist. But I can pretend that I'm getting married to an ethical billionaire and we're all having a great time, and I can stop stressing about money and just be with my super hot, super rich, adoring billionaire husband who won't cheat on me because he loves me that much. So this is a book that the first time I read it made me laugh so much. It's unhinged, like in the best way though. It's funny, it's quippy, it's got two characters that both think they're each insane and somehow manage to fall in love. And it's a billionaire marriage of convenience between a billionaire man and a fucking broke-ass heroine. It's great. The premise is unhinged. This is a romance reasons suspension of disbelief kind of book, but it's about the heroine who basically loses her job and doesn't want her parents to know she's lost her job, who she still lives with. So she decides to just prowl the streets every day in a rich neighbourhood looking for a rich man to marry. And you know what? Bitch finds him. She finds the hero, and not only is he rich, he's a billionaire, he's very sexy, and wouldn't you know it, in order to secure a business deal, he needs to find a fake pregnant fiancée. Not really pregnant, that's also fake. Morally, it's not great, but equally, both of them probably belong in like an insane asylum, so don't think about it too hard. Next is Consider Me. What a delightful series this is. It's Becca Mac's Playing for Keeps series. It's an ice hockey romance. Now, the heroine thinks the hero is a fuckboy, rightly so. She don't want nothing to do with him, but he's too charming and too goofy, and she cannot resist. The hero in this book is goofy to the point of being cringe. Now, that, I believe, is a deliberate thing. It comes across as very deliberate to me. That's just the character. That being said, I think that potentially the hero might be too much for some people. I love this book. I gave it a 5-star. The only way you'll know if it's for you is to read a little bit about it and to maybe read a little bit of the book if you can, maybe in a bookstore or something, because you'll definitely find it very easily in there. But like, I think that this is, as with all books, is going to be for some people, going to not be, but if it's for you, it's a delightful ride. And what I really like about Becca Mac and this series is that she feels like she's doing something quite different in the romance genre than other books. Because a lot of romances are formulaic, and there is no problem with that. I love a formulaic romance, but it does tend to be like, meet, maybe have some conflict, middle part they're together and everything is fine, third act breakup, reconciliation. Whereas I really felt like Consider Me, and indeed the rest of the books in this series, went into a more realistic portrayal of the highs and lows of a relationship. There's no like formulaic setup to that. It's more just like, yeah, we meet, there's some conflict, maybe we get a bit closer, there's more conflict. We have continuous conflicts because this is a relationship between a literal, very famous ice hockey star and a woman who's just a teacher. And there's always going to be elements of like insecurity and dealing with fame and being thrust into that kind of spotlight. And so I really liked this book. It's long for a romance. It's, I think, just over 500 pages, but it didn't feel like that. And ultimately, I love this series and can wholeheartedly recommend all of them. I think the book one is still my favourite out of all of them, though. I also think there's a little bit of sass, a little bit of spice, a little bit of darkness to her, you know? And so for that reason, I'm also going to recommend Bewitched by Laura Thalassa. Bewitched has a very interesting and fun premise, and Laura Thalassa is like a high-key, really insane author. I mean that complimentary. She's literally probably like unhinged in the brain, and that's probably why she works for me so well. But Bewitched is set in a paranormal romance world where there are witches, there are werewolves, there are all different kinds of things, sorcerers as well. The heroine is a witch who has a very unfortunate affliction in that every time she uses magic, she loses some of her memories, so she has amnesia that's triggered by using magic. She is trying to get into this coven that she really wants to go into, and they're like, no bitch, you need to go on a mystical adventure. Find some shit, do some shit, and then come back. So she goes, and she's on a plane, and everything is great. And then all of a sudden, there's some magic fucking witch attack. Baby girl's plane starts going down, and then all of these shenanigans happens, and she crashes in a fucking jungle, and she's drawn to this weird tomb crypt thing. And she goes, and what does she find in the crypt? A sexy man who's unconscious from magic. And he wakes up and he starts speaking to her in this weird language that for some reason she can understand. And he's like, oh my God, baby girl, I've missed you so much. And she's like, I don't know what that means. And I don't know who you are. You are very attractive though. And basically it turns out that is Memnon, her hero, who is a evil sorcerer, because sorcerers are people who are incredibly powerful, but the more powerful they are, the less of a conscience they have. And guess what? Memnon, he a powerful boy. He is convinced she is her long-lost lover. Problem being, he's like 1,000 years fucking old, and he's been sleeping in unconscious in this magical crypt thing for a really long time. And she's like, baby girl, I'm 20 years old. And he's a fucker. Like, he does some shit that I delighted in it. It was great, but like unforgivable. And then book two is basically a grovel, just a whole book of grovel. It was great. And finally, for this flirty, sassy girl underwear, I am going to recommend It Happened One Summer. Classic, a Tessa Bailey classic. It is about a famous socialite who is just a spoiled rich girl, and her parents basically banish her to some random ass like town whose most notable people are like king crab fishers. It's a little bit unhinged when you actually say it out loud. And her hero is a king crab fisherman. And he just thinks she's a spoiled rich girl. He doesn't really, like her very much, but also she's very attractive. So he does like that. He can't stay away from her and he thinks about her all the time, but also he hates her. She doesn't like him very much, and they're very much at each other's throats. But ultimately it's one of those things where they don't want to want each other, and yet they do. And they realise there's so much more beneath the surface of both of them. And she learns to be a real girl, not just a spoiled Instagram famous socialite person. But this one I really think matches, because he is very grumpy and fisherman-y, and she is a crazy party girl socialite who starts the book by going to jail. Not for a lot, just like overnight, but still. Okay, second up, we've got this girlie right here. Now, I don't know if you can see all of the detail and the sparkly beautifulness of this, but this girl, I think, she's a little bit more reserved, a little bit more laid back. She's cute, she's fun, she's got lovely colours, but equally she's a little bit more straight-laced. She's a little bit more conservative with her emotions, and she calculates what she wants you to see and think about her. So matching the vibe with that, I wanted to get characters that are a little bit more coy, that are a little bit less forthcoming with how they feel, and that are sexy, certainly. I am basically just sweat at this point, my God. First book recommendation, How to Lose a Bride in One Night by Sophie Jordan. Sophie Jordan is one of the most unhinged authors I've ever encountered, I'll be honest with you. I love that. I love that for her. I love that for me, because I love an unhinged author. Oh, fuck. But How to Lose a Bride in One Night is insane. It's about a woman who starts the book marrying a duke. Great, we think it's all going well, except the duke then immediately tries to unalive her and throws her over the side of their honeymoon cruise ship. And she has to pretend to be unalived, and then the actual hero of the book finds her and takes her to some, well, he's trying to find her help because she's gonna unalive, and he stumbles across accidentally some, I think it's supposed to be like Romani travelers, and they nurse her back to health, and then he takes her back to his house because he's an earl, to his big mansiony thing, and like she has to be immobilized for 5 weeks because she's broken her leg, but then after that he's like, I will teach you self-defense, and she pretends that she has amnesia because she thinks that that's the best thing to do. It's all in the book. You can read the book, it explains. But the hero is one of the least in touch with his feelings heroes I've ever read. He doesn't know what a feeling is. He hasn't experienced them before the heroine, and that's quite jarring for him. He's a traumatized sad boy in many ways, but equally he is so wrapped up it's infuriating at times. But when he does explode, he's a very passionate lover, let's just say that. Do you want sexy alien men? Do you want sexy human women who agree to marry these sexy alien men as like a trial kind of marriage thing between the species? Do you want what is called a cocktail? It's exactly what you think it is, babe, and it lassos the anatomy of the woman. And that feels good, apparently. I don't think I believe it, and I'm also kind of disgusted by like a worm-like appendage. Equally, had a really good time. I've read like 4 books in this series now, and I've had a really good time with all of them. The hero in this book fits this very well because he is also someone that does not understand feelings. He's a big, sexy orange man, and yet he doesn't understand feelings. He doesn't really know how to be normal even for his own species, and he's very buttoned up. But when he unleashes his passion, the passion is unleashed with his worm thing, and it's, I don't know if I can call it sexy given there's a worm tail thing, but equally, I had a good time. Wolf Gone Wild. Now, aside from the fact that this title is great and I love it, the book itself is really fun too. It's about a werewolf, we're off to a good start, and a witch, we're off to a great start. Witches don't really like werewolves, but this witch is just like, he's sexy, so I'll give him a pass. And he basically has been put under a curse whereby he's no longer able to transform into a werewolf. And also his werewolf alter ego is now like taking over him, which is why I think it's a good match for this lingerie, with it's kind of like, I'm gonna hide what, my true feelings and motivations are. I'm gonna be a bit straight-laced, but when I explode type thing, because he is usually in control. And in fact, he is fighting for control harder than he ever has before. But he has this werewolf side of him that actually talks to him that he didn't have before he was cursed, but actually talks to him and is basically his own character. And it's almost like a reflection of his own like primal urges, I guess, that constantly, it's basically his intrusive thoughts, but like he acts on them a lot. And he basically goes to this witch for help, and love happens, and he has a great sassy dominating alpha werewolf counterpart in his head who will not shut the fuck up. And quite frankly, I'm grateful for that, because every time the werewolf spoke I was like, yes, get it, girl. If you haven't read this one, you need to. Oh my god, this is so unhinged. Tessa Dare, God bless her, she is an unhinged writer as well. This is a book about a woman who I think is probably quite kind of autistic coded, who, in order to get her family off her back for like finding a husband when she was much younger, invented an imaginary fiance who's in the army, and she'd constantly write him letters, and she made up like a fake like regiment and address and name and stuff, and she'd just post the letters but to no one, and she'd basically write to herself a load of babble. Turns out, romance reasons, they were being delivered to a real person. Just so happened it was his actual name, and I think his actual soldiery number thing. She is an English woman, he is a Scottish man. He was getting these letters all the time, unbeknownst to her. She ends up inheriting some land in Scotland from, I think it's her granddad. And guess who turns up out of the blue one day after she kills him off because she's like, I cannot keep up this ruse anymore. So she just pretends he dies in battle and goes into mourning, and no one bothers her to ever try and get married again, because they're like, oh, she's in mourning, let's just leave her alone forever. Guess who turns up to that castle that she inherited? It's him. It's the man that she didn't know she was writing to. And he's like, I'm going to blow the lid on everything if you don't actually marry me. And so he kind of blackmails her into marrying him, but equally, she doesn't mind that much, I'll be honest with you, because she thinks he's real sexy, and he reads in bed with glasses on, and that just presses her button, apparently. Don't blame her, to be honest. It presses her button. It's delightful. He is a man who is very pent up and very I cannot reveal my emotions. I don't even know what an emotion is. What is this feeling? Is it love or is it hunger type person? Again, when he allows himself to feel and unleashes himself, he's a passionate, beautiful man who has a lot of love to give. And I have also got Managed by Kristen Callahan. Oh, goodness, my knee, the back of my knee is so sweaty. My leg just slid off. My legs slid off each other. That's exciting. I need a shower. Anyway, Managed. So this is perhaps the most emotionally repressed man maybe in existence. Maybe. Probably not. I've definitely read worse. He is pretty bad though. He is British, which I'm sure for a lot of you, sexy. For me as a British person, I'm just kind of I'm imagining a Tory accented type person. Mummy, Daddy, how about we go and commit some animal abuse and murder some foxes today with the hounds? That's what I imagine. So I don't find British men particularly attractive to me, because they're always posh boy type accented. And I'm just no, give me someone from Liverpool. Give me a Scouser. Don't do that. I don't want that. I don't want that even a little bit. Regardless, this is the second book in the VIP series, but it's a contemporary romance. You can read them out of order. It really doesn't fucking matter. The hero is emotionally constipated to the extreme. The heroine is sunshine. She is happy. She is spicy. She is lust. She is sassy. And he does not know an emotion from his own foot. They meet in a chance encounter on an aeroplane, and turns out they're going to be working for the same company. I mean, he already works for the company and she's starting a new job, and they're working together and blah, blah, blah. And it's for this famous rock band. Cool. They can't have a relationship. It's forbidden because they work together, and yet. It's spicy. He doesn't understand emotions. She is banging her head against the wall, can you just understand that you love me? And God, he's very sexy. Even for a British man, he's very sexy. Finally, guys, gals, and non-binary pals, we're going for what I think is going to be my whimsical mermaid era. And so we're going for this one. Now let me put it up close so that you can see a bit more of the detail. Can you see how shiny and beautiful it is? I don't know if you can, but look. I mean, she is a whimsical, manic pixie dream girl mermaid. She is just everything whimsical about the world. She doesn't even actually really exist. She's more of a fantasy than an actual person. But nevertheless, in fiction, she can exist. And so here are my book recommendations. I'm not sure why this book was written. It was a COVID book, if I'm remembering correctly. Thank God it was, though. I mean, I don't really know what to say about this book other than why, but also yes. Angelica Frankenstein Makes Her Match is literally as it sounds. It's a retelling of Frankenstein in which Angelica Frankenstein, Victor Frankenstein's sister, just makes a sexy lover out of dead people body parts and brings him to life. And he's like, I don't know who I am, but you sure are fine as hell, girl. And do you know what? The whole thing honestly felt like reading a fever dream. And yet, I enjoyed it, and it was sexier than I thought it was going to be. I enjoyed it a lot. And just for the sake of saying that you've read this book, I recommend that you do read it. But it was a very enjoyable ride. What says unhinged manic pixie dream girl more than an old school 90s romance set in a horny dystopian future? Premise: elite super soldier heroine who's not like other girls flies around the universe in a horny dystopia with her horny AI and her horny sex robot that she only uses for cuddles, and then goes on to a barbarian planet to try and save the world because reasons. And even though she's the most elite super soldier ever and no one can beat her or best her. The hero does so immediately because, you know, God forbid we had a heroine who is stronger than the hero, more capable. He obviously has to be more capable and strong than her. And basically goes to like a barbarian caveman planet where they're really misogynistic. And so is he. And she kind of teaches him about the error of his ways, but kind of doesn't, because he's still kind of misogynistic, and she has to browbeat him into telling her that she loves him. And it only happens in like the last page of the book. And he's like, for fuck's sake, fine, I fucking love you, woman. Female, in fact. He probably says female because he's a misogynist. Is it romantic? Not really. Is it unhinged? Yes. Did the author think it was romantic? Yes. Was it probably romantic in 1990? Also, yes. And to be honest, it really was quite progressive for the time. I would read this book for science, and you know what, you might actually enjoy it. There were certainly enjoyable parts of it. A lot of it was problematic, and there was a little bit too much like I'm not like other girling for me. But nevertheless, I'm not mad I read it. And this is the wild card round with like insane, unhinged, whimsical recommendations, and I just thought this fit in perfectly. Why give you one 90s romance when I could give you two? This is Till Dawn Tames the Night by Megan McKinney. Megan McKinney went to jail for tax fraud, if I recall correctly, after she wrote this book, obviously. But yeah, she did some illegal shit, apparently. That was a bit insane. Look at the step back though, very pretty. I mean, look at that. But anyway, is this problematic because it was written in the 90s? Yes. Is it fun anyway? Yes. This is a pirate romance, and it is about a man that so desperately does not want to love this heroine, to the point where the first spy scene that they have that is basically closed door. I'm gonna say that is, you don't read anything. It's a 90s book, okay? But the first spy scene that they have, he literally is basically like, I am going to grape you to prove I'm a bad person because you've started to look at me like I'm a good person, and that's really upsetting me and I can't handle it. And she is like, okay, daddy, give it to me. And he's like, no, I'm going to grape you. You're not supposed to like this. And she's like, but I love you and so I do. And so he doesn't grape her. That's the main thing I'll say. He threatens to. And then she's just like, okay, I will lie back and think of England, but also you and your sexy abs. So problematic as fuck, yes. He also calls her a bitch during that thing. He's like, I will not feel for you, you bitch, do you hear me? And she's like, yes, daddy, give me more. So, you know, very problematic in that sense. The author also goes through like great pains to say, to demonstrate that he is a pirate, but he does not slave. And in fact, he releases slaves when he finds them, but then also has a very racist depiction, in my opinion, of a Chinese worker that works for him. It was the 90s. She really tried. It was a bit unhinged. He kidnaps the heroine. He takes her overseas. He doesn't want to love her, and yet he does. Very old school romance hero. A little bit of that, well, quite a lot actually, of that like, I don't want to like this because I'm a good, chaste, virtuous woman, but you're forcing this pleasure upon me, so okay, I guess. There's a bit of that, I'm not going to lie to you, but equally it was just fun. If you can take it as a product of its time and ignore that shit, it was fun. I'm actually gonna give you a recommendation that's one of the most normal recommendations for your second to last, and that's If the Shoe Fits. We're really putting on, like, banking on the whimsical side of this lingerie with this. And this is delightful. It is a plus-size heroine and a famous, like, hero who is taking part in the Bachelor-style dating show, and the heroine is on that. She and the hero fall in love for real, not just for play, whilst she is on this show competing with other women for him, basically. And yeah, there's exploration of like being a plus size woman and the way that society looks at that, and like some fat phobia in there, so bear that in mind. It's also a closed door spice scene, which I'm more of an open door spice scene kind of girly, but you know, this book was just fun, it was whimsical, it was cute. It's a light kind of palette cleanser style book, and I did enjoy it. Can you tell how fucking hot I am by how much my face is starting to shine? My God. Final book, and then I will let you go. The Duke Buys a Bride, another Sophie Jordan, because if you're looking for unhinged and whimsical, Sophie Jordan's your gal. This book is insane. It starts with the Duke, the hero in this book, waking up in a pile of animal shit in a barn. And the heroine is, you know, just being auctioned off for marriage, as you do. And then the Duke sees her and he's like, attractive. And then he's like, maybe I want to marry her. But he's like, no, I don't. But also, I'm doing a altruistic thing by getting this woman. I'm not actually going to marry her, but I will buy her in the auction to save her. And then he's like, maybe I love her actually after a while. One of the things that I remember the most from this book is that I think it might be in their first spy scene, he makes her reach her pinnacle 6 times in a row, which sounds great on paper, but in real life, wouldn't that just be painful? Wouldn't that just hurt? The whole book is unhinged, like a delightful unhinged mess. That's my book recommendations matched my lingerie. Why? Dunno. Yeah, it is what it is, and I have more lingerie that I bought in Japan, so if you want another video like this, let me know and I shall deliver. Like this video if you liked it. Please follow me. I'm trying to grow this channel. Comment, because I'm a lonely girl over here on YouTube. You know, you guys don't like to comment very much, which is fine. I respect that, but equally, maybe you do. Next week, you'll be getting a video. I don't know what of. You'll have to wait and see. It'll be a surprise for us all. But yeah, thanks for watching, guys, and I will see you in my next video.